Hi, I'm CF3 Loyal, still staying at home every other Saturday, bringing you the latest quintessential Rangers vlog. Has central defence become a problem position for Rangers? Well, anyone who watched my squad review video will know that I said that central defence was one of the last positions that I would want to spend money and strengthen this summer. I wanted the majority of our transfer budget to be spent on midfield, but a lot can change in football. We've had the unfortunate news that Nikola Katic has done his cruciate, and we're waiting on the official timeline from the club as to how long Nico will be out for, but I'd estimate it's going to be anything ranging from 9 to 12 months, unfortunately. I'm gutted. I'm gutted for the player, and I'm gutted for the club. I think Jordan Campbell from The Athletic nailed it when he said that Nikola Katic went away during COVID-19 and done everything possible to come back to Rangers fitter, stronger and better prepared to challenge for a starting berth. This injury is going to be a huge setback for him, but I'm sure that he'll do everything in his power to come back better and stronger, as cliche as that might sound. But it is a huge blow for Steven Gerrard, who's probably thinking the same as me in terms of not looking to strengthen in central defence. My assumption then was that Goldson and Helander would be our first choice pairing, but that Nico would be pushing for a starting position. With Katic's injury, it poses two questions. One, can we trust Filip Helander to be fit and play throughout an entire season? Helander picked up a rare injury in December after only 8 league appearances, and after that he didn't kick a ball for us. He has had his injury problems in the past, albeit not as severe, and only featured 65 times in 3 seasons for Bologna in all competitions. There are rumours that he hasn't or won't be travelling to France because of a slight knock, but that sometimes happens when a player's returning from a long-term injury. And I don't think it's time to panic on Helander just yet. Hopefully a full pre-season will prepare Helander for the upcoming season, and I think he could be a very big player for us. Question number 2. Is George Edmundson good enough to be third choice centre back at Rangers? He's only 22, albeit turns 23 next month. He did get a good run of games last season after some high profile errors from Nikola Katic, and he played a total of 16 games in all competitions. But it's probably fair to say that we didn't see the best or the worst in George Edmundson in that time. He's a big unit, a fridge, and highly capable of distributing the ball out from the back, but he's still a bit raw for me and dives into the tackle, dives into headers, which was a criticism labelled of Nikola Katic. It is something that centre-backs learn through experience, but I'm not overly comfortable knowing that if something happened to Helander, for example, that our centre-back pairing would be Connor Goldson and George Edmundson. No offence. We do have other options in the squad who can play centre-back. Calvin Bassey, first of all. When Rangers first unveiled Calvin Bassey on the Rangers website, they referred to him as a player who can play as a left-back or centre-back. Unless I'm mistaken, he partnered Connor Goldson in the pre-season friendly against Hamilton Accies where we won 2-1 and he scored a goal. But he's not someone I know a lot about, and I don't want to pin my hopes on a 20-year-old, albeit the noises coming from inside Rangers are hugely positive. The second name is Lewis Mayo, another 20-year-old, and I noticed today on Instagram that he's a lot bigger than Edmundson, which is saying a lot. He's a Sasa Papac lookalike and a Rangers Academy graduate who was loaned out last season and impressed at Partick Thistle. He could be given a chance in the Rangers first team next season, albeit I think he'd be behind George Edmundson, and it comes back to the point of, is George Edmundson good enough to be third choice? Then we have Ross McCrorie. I don't think Ross McCrorie needs an introduction. He's a player who's made 50 first team appearances for Rangers, and he's the only McCrorie twin to have played in goals. And if you asked me 18 to 24 months ago, would I be happy with Ross McCrorie being fourth choice centre back? I would have said a resounding yes. But Rangers have moved on since then, and Ross McCrorie hasn't. I love Ross McCrorie's mentality, I love his versatility, but when Steven Gerrard took over, he was critical of Graham Murty for playing him at centre back and actually said he could have ruined his career. He said at the time that he'd seen him more as a defensive midfielder, albeit he played through the age groups at Rangers at centre back and was then loaned out to Portsmouth to play right back. I previously said in my squad review videos I thought there was a place in the squad for Ross McCrorie because of that versatility. I compared him to Phil Neville and the Sir Alex Ferguson Man United team. But that's looking more unlikely with Lewis Mayo challenging for the centre-back position, Nathan Patterson looking likely to be back up to Tavernier at right back, and Rangers being in the market for a new defensive midfielder, which is also a position that Lewis Mayo can play and did play in the development squad. At 22 years of age, it's make or break for Ross McCrorie. I have seen some people on social media mention Leon King. Leon King's only 16 and he's never trained with the first team. It's far too early for Leon King, who is a huge promise and prospect at the club. So, should we bring someone else in? Well, that might depend on whether we sell Alfredo Morelos or not, as that will provide additional funds. That's potentially looking a bit more likely, with Everton now strongly interested in Alfredo, our star man. And it largely depends on what transfer we receive for Alfredo Morelos, or what we have in the bank and what we plan to do with it already. Anyone who watched my squad review videos will have seen that I wanted us to spend the majority of our budget on midfield, and I still do. I want to see us add 2 starting players to our starting 11. So far, this window, we haven't improved our starting 11. But Steven Gerrard did warn us to be patient, as a lot of the leagues are still playing football. And they weren't decided on a Zoom call. Depending on whether the manager decides to play Yanis Hadji on the right hand side or as a central number 10, that might depend on what I would see us strengthening in. If he goes with his preferred and more natural central number 10 role, then I would like to see us sign a central midfield player to partner Ryan Jack, somebody who's aggressive in the tackle, but I'd like to see us sign a natural or more natural right-sided winger stroke midfielder. And that would allow Hadji to play in his more natural position. But back to centre-back, I would love to see Rangers sign an experienced centre-back, but not somebody who's above the age of 37, Gareth McAuley. It depends on who's available and at what price. Another option, which I put out on Twitter and was crucified for saying, is John Souttar. Rumours were that we were interested in John Souttar last summer, but Hearts priced us out of a deal when they quoted us £2 million, and we eventually signed George Edmundson instead. We may watch the Hearts situation very closely and potentially look to pick John Souttar up for a fraction of that cost, somewhere in the region of £200,000, I would suggest. The concerns that most people had on Twitter, and I share, are that John Souttar has had his fair share of injury problems. He only played 11 times last season after picking up an ankle knock and is yet to start pre-season for Hearts. But we have a top medical team who could assess him, and I would trust their decision. The ironic thing about most Rangers fans wouldn't touch John Souttar is that most of them are in favour right now of signing Bongani Zungu, who only played 5 times for Amiens 2 seasons ago in the French League because of a serious injury. However, the more I think about it, I don't think John Souttar is any better than George Edmundson, who I don't think is good enough to be third choice. So therefore, I probably wouldn't sign John Souttar myself, to be honest. I've seen tonight that we've been linked with the Dominican Republic of Congo centre-back Christian Maghoma. He's a 22-year-old free agent after spending 2 years in Polish football. He played 39 times for Arka Gdynia, I hope that's how you pronounce it, following his release from Spurs where he came through the academy. I don't know anything about him to comment, but if we are signing someone at centre-back, for me it should be someone who's going to push Connor Goldson and Filip Helander. We've got enough young players in our squad, such as Lewis Mayo, such as Ross McCrory, who can certainly fill the squad. So, has centre-back become a problem position for Rangers? Yes. Yeah, I believe it has. Steven Gerrard has some big decisions to make, and I want your thoughts on these. So please comment on YouTube. Should Steven Gerrard trust Filip Helander to play the full season? Would Steven Gerrard be confident going into the biggest season of his career with George Edmundson as third choice centre-back? Should he put faith in our younger players? Would you keep Lewis Mayo and or Ross McCrory in the squad? Should Steven Gerrard dip into the transfer market, or should he continue to spend the majority of our transfer budget on our midfield? Thank you for watching. I'm CF3 Loyal. Stay safe, stay staunch.